Welcome to the Noble 23 podcast. All right, hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks
for coming up here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we had talked a little bit about you coming on and like leadership and fitness. So I'm just kind of like trying to like jump around from like topic to topic. It seems like with the whole fire service as a whole.
Yes.
And I know you come across as a guy, just from my minimal interactions with you. I actually haven't like really worked with you too much, except just during like shift change. But a guy who's very passionate about the job we do.
Yes.
And then what would be your what is your stance on like leadership in the fire service?
So I was brought up and mentored by a lot of good men. I did ask their permission to use their name. The first two officers I had was at the time Lieutenant Orr and Sergeant Lanier. Clearly they're chiefs now, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot from them. At the time we used to have 4-man engines, and that was my first crew. They worked with us. The county, we went from having 4 to having like 2, and then down to like 1 person on engines. So I'm just gonna call them the rank. Chief Orr and Chief Lanier worked real well with me. Different pump scenarios and stuff like that. Kind of taking me out of my comfort zone, doing everything by myself, and setting up my own lines, setting up my own water supply, making sure all the gauges are right. They took a lot of pride in me, and I was their rookie. I'd only been on for probably 6 months, and I got moved to 20 as my first assignment. These men were very passionate, and they took pride and ownership in their crew, you know, in their rookie. I've tried to do that throughout 20 years in the fire service. Felt like I've done a decent job at it, but I'm very proud, and I take a lot of pride and ownership in my crew. Those men, they instilled it in me. We've done well over the years as far as training goes, and you know, we got this training center. We didn't used to have that. Everything we did was company training. So it was, what do you want to do today? I don't know. You can do a pump scenario. Okay, let's do a pump scenario. So that's what we'd do. Now we have the option to go to the training center and utilize the tower, the burn building where we actually stretch lines. Shortly after that, we went to 1-man engines. So, and if I jump around, just let me know. But shortly after that, we went to 1-man engines, and you were at a station by yourself. So you didn't really have nobody to look at and say, hey, you want to go train today? You want to go pull some lines today? Do you want to pump today? So I found a lot of time out of 18, 17, 6, 12 to train myself, hone skills. There was plenty of times out at Station 18, there's a plug right out front. I'd hook up, it was an old tanker. I think it may still be there at 18, but it was had a front pump on it. But I'd set up lines, I'd pull my own lines. I would load my own hose up. It didn't look too good, but I loaded the hose up myself. But at that time, you know, it was a good growing period for me. I was 20 years old when I started, just had turned 20, and it was very maturing. It matured me a lot. I always tell folks one of the regrets I have was not going to the military. I wanted to be a Marine, be honest with you, but I took the ASVAB test, did amazing on it, and was about to go to the recruiter, but Chief Seegers, he called me and asked me if I wanted to be employed. I said, sure. But I learned a lot of, with Chief Orr and Chief Lanier, I learned a lot of, you know, motivation, taking pride in my crew. And even to this day, I try to instill that into my sergeants and my senior firefighters, which I feel is like a big pivotal position to be in. Because if you got a recruit or a new fella, he's not going to come to the officers, hey, even though I tell them it's an open door policy, you come talk to me anytime you want to. Typically, they're going to be going to the senior firefighter, looking for motivation from them.
Right.
So I hope that answers your question.
Um, are you more of like, or let's just say, like you get a brand new rookie. Like, what is what's your goal for, like, say, like the next month of like 10 shifts? Like, what you want to see from where he or she left off at the training center to like a month down the road. Like, what's your goal to like your standard in a way?
Okay. Well, I'll answer that with this. Typically, when they come to me, I ask them what their expectations are of me.
Okay.
What do you want to learn? What are some strengths and weaknesses? I'll tell you mine. You tell me yours, and then we'll build on that. I require. I don't require, but I like for the rookie to be motivated. The new firefighter for the first year that they're with me. So another name drop. Chief Ward at the time was my captain at Station 24, and the man is knowledgeable when it comes to all the equipment. So at Station 24, we set up this little drill, and I think it's Quick Drill 3 SBF immunization, but he put his own spin on it, and he explained what each piece of that SCBA does. So that's what I try to do. I try to explain and I break it down and say, okay, this is the valve, this is the main valve, and this is what happens. Whenever you turn it on, turn it off, pass device, how does the regulator work? And I got that from Chief Ward because he took the time to sit you in a bay. It didn't matter, and I think at the time I'd been hired on here probably, I don't know, 10 years, 11 years, but didn't matter. I was eager to learn. I was eager to soak it up. And
so at 10, 11 years, what rank were you at that point?
I was a sergeant.
Okay, sergeant.
I was a sergeant on Truck 24.
Okay.
So I took it and ran with it. And then from there I put my own spin on things. So usually with my recruit, or probational firefighter, whatever you want to call him, once he gets there, one of the first shifts we get out there and I have a getting to know you drill. Okay, what do you have in each pocket? This is what I have in my pocket. Usually it's left to live, right to fight. Show them how to set their gear up on the truck. Taking pride. It's just small things. Usually when they're doing their third rides and stuff, so when you kind of break down and say, look, if you hadn't introduced yourself, or don't smell no coffee making. Here comes other crew.
Make some coffee.
Something that they may not have been taught, or something that they just didn't know.
Just those knowledge gaps.
It's just knowledge gaps.
Yeah, that some people know and then some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So usually asking what they're to lighten them, just kind of lighten it up and just say, what are your expectations of me? This is what I expect of you. After they tell, and usually it kind of catches them off guard because like, I didn't know you wanted me to tell you my expectations, and it's like, no, I do actually. I want to know what you expect out of your officer, because I want to tell you what I expect out of you, and they're going to build on that. So after I show them how to set up their gear and stuff like that on the truck, we'll take a tool, pull it off. We'll talk about it. Usually, I call it tool of the day. Typically, they'll set up a little PowerPoint, or they can write it down, and then they can go over it with a crew. This does a couple things. One, it gets you more familiar with your crew. Your crew sees that you've done some research on a tool, and you learn more about that tool, and it gets you more comfortable talking.
Easy training hours too.
Easy hour.
Yeah.
After that, pull off the SCBA cylinder. This is the pack. How does it work? Tell me what you know. They tell us what we know, then we build on it. Probably the following shift, or maybe a couple shifts go by, we'll pull it apart. You'll disassemble it. You'll do it in the dark. Usually it's at the gear room at 23. I'll just turn the lights off. We'll put a piece of paper over. I said, all right, take it apart. They'll take it apart. Okay, put it back together. All right, take it apart. So, and we do this at like the second shift, and they're getting familiar with for one, working in the dark. Two,
you got gloves on?
Gloves on, of course. Yeah. SCB familiarization. Then I'll have them put a pack on, breathe air, do the same scenario. I'll set up a little bay drill. At each coupling, you got to do like a station. One of them's handcuffed knot. The other one's disassembling and assembling a pack. The third is calling a mayday or the who, what, where, or who, where, what. I think is what they're using now. And then at the very end, the nozzle, you go inside and you package a firefighter.
Okay.
And we just start with the basics. Usually with my recruits or the new guys, I start with the basics. So get past that, then we start working on air consumption drills. We'll get outside. We'll set up like 3 stations, and I'm not trying to run them into the ground by no means, but I do want them to be comfortable and get acclimated to their gear. I feel like I owe it to my crew to be, response ready and be good at my gear and very confident in my gear, but I kind of expect it out of them also. The EMS side of it, I know, yuck, we don't like to talk about that, but I do go over certain things that's expected of them as EMT. Try to take a call if it's something you can take. Just try to lighten the load on the medic.
Just get more and more comfortable.
Get more experience because you got a long career ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expect. That's what I kind of expect out of my new recruits or rookie firefighters when they come to my station.
Okay. One of the things that I think it was like 2-3 shifts ago,
Mm-hmm.
like you hung over for our lieutenant.
Yes.
And you're doing like an air consumption drill in the tubes,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about like they're kind of slanted on the hill for one,
Mm-hmm.
but you were talking about one guy coming in from one end and then you coming in from another, and then buddy breathing. Who came up with that? And like, how often do you do that? Because that kind of seems miserable. And I know like you got to get comfortable in the suck and everything, but
you do. So I'm actually the one that come up with that drill. But me and my new firefighter there at 23, he's eager to learn, and he's his father was a firefighter just like mine, retired captain. But I've been meaning to do the drill for like 3 shifts, and every time we'd go to do it, I was either on the box and we were getting like slammed, or I was just having to do like officer stuff. So I found a shift. I'm like, all right, let's do it today. So it's basically setting up 3 stations. And we did it early in the morning. I wasn't going to do it in the afternoon because that is just
not in this heat.
Not in this heat. And I tell him, we still got a whole other shift. Or we still got the whole shift to work. So kind of go 60% on it.
Truck check-offs, get the thing done before it gets hot.
Before it gets too hot. So you do the 3 stations, and then we kind of stagger ourselves. So he'll go and he'll go ahead of me, or vice versa. Once he gets, about halfway through and starts his lap, that's when I'll start. And depending on who's got the, whoever's got the most air, I always said whoever's got the most air wins. So break the pack. We'll pull the buddy breather out. We'll go into the tube. We'll meet. We'll pull the buddy breather out, and then we'll connect it. Now somebody's got to make the decision on who's backing out. Somebody's got to back out. So usually it's me. I'm confident doing it, but I said next time you're gonna back out. But it teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you to consume your air consumption for one. You're getting acclimated in your gear, and you're learning something. I ain't gonna say an advanced tactic, but you're learning to doff your pack in a confined space. You're also learning to utilize the buddy breathing system. And then it's kind of a team building exercise. So another name drop. At the time, Captain Pelletier, he was at Station 23. Now Chief, clearly retired Chief, and he works a lot with the recruits at the training center. Great man. Him and his crew would always do these team building exercises where they would work with each other, and you would always see them out there working out and baiting. I did like a short stint at 23 as I did paramedic. It's the very end of my paramedic third rides, but they were always out there training together, and I loved it. And I grew to love it. And to this day, I still try to get my crew out there, and train. And we train. But the same thing I had when I was at station, I hadn't seen it since I was at station 20 with Chief Orr and Chief Lanier was that camaraderie and getting out there and training together. And to this day, I still do a lot of the team building exercises that I learned from them at Station 23 C shift back in the day. I was a newly promoted sergeant at the time, so I was trying to just build myself up. I would say I was too young. I think I was 28 years old when I made sergeant. But I admired how they trained as a team, and even to this day, I try to instill into my firefighters with my crew. Every once in a while, let's get out and train together. We're going to eat together and hang out together, but to me, when you train together, it adds a whole nother dynamic to the crew.
Are you saying that separate from like working out? Do you guys like work out together too?
Yeah.
Okay. And then like training on top of that.
Training on top of that. Yeah.
Cool.
So, but yeah, everybody does some form of training. I tell my folks, I'm not telling you to get out there every shift in your gear. You know your body, you know your limitations. All I ask is that you try to, while we're out there, don't be feetled up in the recliner, but try to get out there and do some form of PT, even if it's just getting on the rower and then watching everybody else suffer outside.
Right.
But it just builds a crew to me.
Yeah.
It's team building exercises. So.
Yeah, one of the things I took away from Sergeant Ganka was like on the days that you just don't want to work out, he was like, just put on shorts.
Yep.
And it's like shorts lead to like stretching sometimes or just like a random exercise, and then that leads to like an actual like sometimes a full workout. And I was like,
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Just taking the mentality of like, okay, I'm gonna at least just put on shorts and get outside.
Yeah.
And it just kind of turns into something more most of the time.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm on the box, I'll put on my shorts and go out there and row. Sometimes I'm just gonna full send it, man, and just get in my gear. But like I said, I got all those drills and stuff from previous officers, man, and I just to this day I still try to just keep it going.
So like, what would be like your go-to drill, like the one that like you would just want to do all the time, not necessarily because it's like fun, but just because like it you can get the most out of it, like skill wise.
So I'll set up 3 stations. This is a team building exercise, so I don't care if you draw straws or say no, you're on my team, buddy, or however you want to do it. The officer and the sergeant versus the firefighter and the senior firefighter. Sorry. You'll set up this 3 stations, tire flip, maybe it's 50 flips, so many tire sledgehammer hits, and you got to drag that 5-inch hose we have with the strap or the webbing on it, and you got to negotiate the tubes. You do that on 1 cylinder. So, so you gotta. The last time I did it, I said, if y'all beat us, I'll buy supper. Supper's on me tonight. Some kind of incentive. But
free dinner can go a long way.
It sure can. But the gentleman I was with, he really likes his air, which air is good. But left me with like 500 psi. And I'm like, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But at any rate.
Oh, okay. So like, you're doing it, and then you give your cylinder to the other guy.
You turn your pack over to the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm tracking now.
To your partner. And
okay, that's
it's fun, and it teaches you to consume air. You depending on your your partner and your buddy, and you learn a bunch of different skills. Doffing your pack, buddy breathing.
Well, that's rough.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though. It's not as bad as you think it is, but that's probably one of my favorite go-tos, just because it gets everybody outside. It's a team thing, and you know how firefighters are with competition.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, free dinner goes a long way.
Yeah. Have you guys pulled the sled out at 23 yet?
We have. I think we talked about it briefly. We the last time we only put like 2 plates on there, because I was like, I haven't did a sled since like football or baseball. Then we were like able to push it with our finger. I'm like, okay, maybe we can stack a few more weights on there. And we found like 4 or 5 weights on there. It's like perfect. Kind of gets your heart rate up. It's a little bit of resistance. But yeah, I like putting that out in the bay.
our rookie Palmer and I did it one day. Like that was like our main part of our workout was like doing the sled, and we had like maybe 4 or 6 of the 45s on there, and it's considerable weight.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we like kind of like challenged our crew to like who could push the most weight. And I mean, me and him were already burnt out, but I just like, let's just see who can go. And eventually we had every single plate. It was like over 700 pounds on that thing. And it's like it just did not want to move for me.
Yeah,
I was already spent, and
the carpet bunches up.
Yeah, it was terrible. So do you have like a like almost like a standard that you like a standard of like physical fitness that, like you want to like be able to meet like as like your minimum for like either like you or you like your guys?
As far as for my crew goes, just be able to perform your duties. That's all I ask. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you out there and get in gear every shift because not everybody wants to do it, and I got it. Maybe you had a rough night. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you did a killer workout the day before. All I ask is that you're comfortable in your gear, that you support your crew or your team members that are out there actually training, instead of sitting there, thumbing through Facebook or Instagram or watching, YouTube. But do some form of training while everybody's training.
All right.
Go watch a leadership video, or go watch a podcast or something that you can get some information out of to try to better yourself. My standard for me, I hold my standards high. I'm like my father, Captain Hall. I hold myself very accountable. I'm like I'm rougher on myself than anybody else could ever be. He's the same way, and I got that skill from him.
Did he work here or at the county as well?
He did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he retired out of Station 12.
Okay, cool.
21, 22 years, I believe. He was spent with the county. But funny story, when we'll go back to 2001, 2000. We were at the bay at Station 17. I was a volunteer at the time at Station 6. We were at 17, and I was just going down to take what they call Mod 1. Firefighter 101 or whatever they call it now. I know they've changed the name multiple times. But we actually got out in the bay with these old 2216 cylinders. It came in a case, and it wasn't the snorkel ones, but he showed me how to put it on, how to breathe with it, and all that. And I remember our first day down there at Gypstick, putting that thing on, having to crawl across the field. I had that thing sucked down before I even got started, man. But he took the time to show me all that stuff. A lot of my leadership, traits and attributes I took from him. I still lean on him for advice to this day. I will go to his house and got a question. I have this going on. I've got this going on with my crew. I have this going on, in general. And he offers his advice. He's non-biased. He says, well, you probably could have done this different, or have you tried doing this? So I've always leaned on him for advice. I still do. I still go there. I'll probably go there this evening, actually.
Nice.
So, but standards for myself, I set them high. I try to be a motivator. I want to get out there, get in my gear. Like I said, if you see me out there working out, come on out and work out with me. If not, at least your officers out there, getting nasty, getting sweaty, and
leading from the front.
Huh?
Leading from the front.
Leading from the front.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not just sitting in a recliner and.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though it is pretty nice at 23, those recliners are.
It's true.
Yeah.
Speaking more about the exercises and everything, so like you've kind of gone through like month one. Like how far along is like your rookie, like in the field wise?
Let's see. I should know this. I believe he came out in March.
So around 3-4 months
3-4
now.
Months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, what from month one to like now, are you expecting more so out of him than before?
Let's see. So from month, it was the basics like pulling lines and stuff like that. Just become more confident. More confident in his gear. You try to hone them, or at least for me, I try to hone them to get ready for the next level, which is going to be FAO. So we'll go out there, we'll pull lines. One of my other firefighters, she's actually in her FAO packet. So every time we go out there, I'm like, all right, pull the line. All right, you're pumping the line. Don't kill him. But it's just good practice, and he gets to watch her do it because, like I said, here in about I don't know, 7 months, you're up, and we're gonna start doing the same thing with you. We're gonna start at the basics, and then we're gonna work our way up. So, just getting them ready for senior firefighter role. Like I said, we'll have recruits come out soon. Like I tell them all the time, well, bud, they're gonna be leaning on you for information. So learn all you can about all the stuff on this rig, and then whenever they ask you, say, well, let's go out here and train on it. Be a teacher, be a motivator.
Right.
So
that's cool.
just make them an overall better firefighter.
So do you try and have like say your FAO in training right now?
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to teach the rookie, and then like the senior guys are trying to teach the FAO in training, and then sergeant and then yeah.
Typically with my FAOs, I let the sergeant, the drivers, do the teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Just because when was the last time I pumped a truck? I'm usually on the other side of the truck. As far as the driving at maneuver and all that, I like to have a hand in that. But when it comes to the pumping and stuff, I let my sergeant and my drivers do it. It teaches it, it's a refresher for them, and they're teaching the driver something. So I've always liked letting them handle it.
Cool. We're in like the FAO packet, or the fire apparatus operator for
Mm-hmm.
those who don't know. The driver. I kind of just lost my train of thought on that one.
Where are they at in it?
Not necessarily like where they're at, but how much focus do you put on like some of like the more advanced skills that like we don't necessarily do all the time? Like we're a county that very much like relies on the fire hydrants, but we do have sometimes that need to draft to do suction. Do you put a lot of the focus on that, or is it more so just kind of like, okay, like we got it, we're good, and then just kind of moving on?
I put a lot of focus in it because you never know. You can teach anybody to pump off a fire hydrant, but teaching them to draft and to pull the draft and all that takes time.
It does.
So usually, and you've been through the driver's packet, and I'm sure you've got somebody going through it now. Most of those mods you can complete in a matter of 2 weeks, and that's putting focus on it and them doing their little test and their little the little skills you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it's mod 6 is where we're at now, and like I said, we're gonna spend a whole month on it.
Okay.
Not just 2 weeks, a month.
Really hammering it home.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna make sure we know how to do all these because I'm the one that signs off on it.
Right.
And if I don't teach you, if you don't know this skill when you go to another officer, imagine being a sergeant. They come to you, you're like, you don't even know how to draft. You don't know how to you don't even know how to pump a pre-connect.
Right.
That'd be my failure as an officer. So I'm gonna make sure whenever, and like I said earlier with and Cat Madamak, he's pretty good about doing the drafting. We used to do it back behind Station 19 when I was out there assigned under him, and we get back there and he'd let the driver do it. The sergeant, the drivers teach, but he'd always offer his insight as well. So I spend a lot of time on drafting because let's just face it, there's some spots in the county that don't have hydrants. Where I live, they don't
Right.
They have very few hydrants.
I mean, I'm in a neighborhood that doesn't have them either.
Yeah.
And like down the road, there's a lake, and
Mm-hmm.
my house will burn.
Yeah.
Like we know that.
Gotta love insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, we got like fire extinguishers like all over the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's like be proactive about it, but yeah.
But no, I take a lot of time. I spend a lot of time with that. Just that's a pretty important section. Like I tell them, it's the meat and potatoes of it.
Right.
We're going to spend a lot of time on drafting. Out of a dry hydrant, you got to learn how to back flush it. Get all the nastiness out from around. The strainer on the dry. What am I trying to say here?
On the pipe. Yeah.
Yep. And then how to set up a tank, dump tank, dual
Right.
tanks and stuff like and just spend some time on it, just so it's not okay. Well, we got through this skill. No, now you're gonna know how to draft.
Right.
When you go to somebody else, you know how to, if they say, "Hey, I need you to pull a draft. Hey, I need you to set up some foam." They know how to do it. You don't have to pull you aside and say, "Hey, will you show me how to do that again?"
Right.
So that's what I try to avoid.
Yeah, I like the whole like going through it each time with like the rookies, or like not necessarily the rookie, but like the guy in training, and it just like refreshes it even for like a guy like me, like just like the senior firefighter in my crew. It's like, man, it's like we don't touch it, like we don't do it all the time, so it's nice to have those like refreshers to like go back and get you more familiarized.
Yeah,
definitely.
And you're learning.
Yeah, it's just like if you don't use it, you lose it,
That's
and a lot of that is just perishable skills, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, like more so like what I meant earlier with like the standard of, I was thinking more along the lines of like just like actual physical fitness. Do you have kind of like I want to be able to run a certain amount of time or a certain amount of distance within a certain amount of time frame, or I want to like ruck a certain amount of weight within a certain amount of distance and time, and then like weight training wise, do you like to have like, I like to be able to bench press like 1.25 times my body weight, and I like to deadlift 1.5 or something along those lines. Is that something that you have like set in your mind, or do you just kind of overall just try and just stay in a certain level of fitness?
Just mostly cardio, for at least for me. And like I said, I can't speak for the other crew, my other crew members or anybody, but for me, I mean, I'm 40, so I'm not what I was when I was 20 years old. But what I do like to do is keep my heart in the condition and be able to body weight stuff. Usually what I do when I go to the gym, a lot of conditioning, cardio. Obviously, when I'm at the station, I set up these drills and do them outside in my gear because it's a different kind of workout. But that's just to kind of keep myself in decent enough shape to where if I have to pull ceiling for hours, I could do it.
Right.
So
yeah, we were doing a workout the other day, and I've been trying to get back more so into like the weight training side of stuff, because cardio has always come easy for me. Like it was easy for my dad. He was a runner, and I could do that stuff no problem. And then like our lieutenant just like hops down on like what I'm starting to struggle on and just like cranks out 10 on the bench press. I was like, I hate you.
yeah.
Like, but so I'm thinking for you, like you're probably one of those guys that's just like naturally stronger, and then cardio is like your weakness. And it's
That's
like the
exactly
exact opposite for
That's
me. It's like
exactly
I can run for crazy amounts of time, it feels like, but then actually putting in like hard strength training is like where like I'm truly like weak at, and I'm trying to fix that for sure. So like our crew and everything, like we've really gotten into fitness, like working out as a crew. One of our guys, like he's finishing up paramedic school. He's got to take the test one more time, but he's really tried to, in the past couple shifts, like get back out there, start doing it, and getting in gear with us. So that's awesome. But we've really much enjoyed like working as a crew together, whether it be like a hit training or like a what you call it, multiple stations kind of stuff. And like now we're kind of like, I've been trying to focus more on like the strength training or weightlifting, because we both, like me and my lieutenant, like we both hate it. It's just, it's not our thing, but it's like we know we got to do it.
Mostly cardio for me. Just trying to keep my breathing down. My air consumption.
Do you ever run?
Mostly row.
Row? Okay.
Yeah, or elliptical. My left knee and ankle are just shot. So
Okay.
Running's kind of out of the picture.
That's fine. Do you ever try like rucking?
What's that?
Just basically like putting on like a backpack with like weight.
Oh, never tried that.
And then so like you don't have to run it. Like you could just walk for however long you want to do it. I've been trying to do it in the neighborhood here. That fire station, like when you first came off of the interstate, I'll ruck to that and come back here. So like it ends up being 6 miles. So one thing that I'm kind of working on like right now is, I saw it somewhere and I was like, you know what, like that'd be a good goal to do. And my goal by the end of the year is to do a marathon.
Okay.
So it's like, how do I train up for that? So I've been trying to do the rucking to like build up my leg strength, build up the back as well, and then just like build up that cardio endurance to like make me go further, longer. But there's a ranger, I guess like a test or like, how do you word it? Like a minimum qualification, I guess.
Okay.
But they have to do 12 miles in under 3 hours with 35 pounds of dry weight. So I've been trying to stay like with the 6 miles that I'm doing, like trying to stay in that half marker, an hour and a half, and it's not easy.
Yeah,
Like
it
you
doesn't sound
have to
easy.
run
Yeah.
during certain portions. So like the downhill sections, like I'm trying to just like do a pitiful trot, like a minor jog at some points, and then when it gets back up to the uphills, it's just like you just try and maintain like a good pace walking uphill, but it'll whoop you.
It sounds like it.
So
Sounds
I mean,
horrible. Actually.
it's not fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's something that I've been trying to get back into more. We did it in the Army. It's just like you ruck everywhere. It's like you're always carrying some kind of backpack.
Gotcha.
So for me, like that's definitely something that I've tried to pick up on is, while building up that cardio endurance for the marathon, but also like trying to like strengthen up my back, and then days at the station, like really doing like some heavy weights and stuff like that. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. Like we've really gotten into a real rhythm. It feels like with our crew that like we're always getting out there, we're always working out, and now we got that ice plunge. Are you guys doing that?
Yes. Yes, we love it.
It's
We
cool.
love it, yeah. So that poor ice machine, I don't know if it can keep up with us though.
Every shift is getting recycled, it seems like. And now we got like Tupperwares filled with ice. And then C shift was telling us like they took gallon jugs, put them in the freezer, and they're like, you could use them, just put them back in. And I mean, it's like you got icebergs floating in that thing.
Yeah.
And do you have like some kind of, do you guys use the thermometer, like the meat thermometer,
They
to
do.
like see how cold you can get it?
Yeah, they stick it in there, and
I think we got it down to like 46 one time.
yeah, it was fairly cold when I hopped in it the last time, but I can't remember what they told me the temperature was on it though.
How long are you guys trying to stay in?
7 minutes.
5-7 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not long.
Yeah, we've been looking into it, and we like it was the whole reason why like we all joined in as a crew to buy it. But like we heard something about 11 minutes within a week, cumulative. So it's like you don't have to do it all in one time, but like just cumulative 11 minutes has like great health benefits. I mean, get into the whole science of it all, but I mean, I feel great after doing it. I got one out here now, and I want to build the whole frame, and I want to circulate it, but like the chiller itself to build like an actual cold plunge, it's like $800.
Oh my word!
And that's like just like a middle of the road one. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but yeah, I do like with my the rookies when they come there. I do have them list out 3 goals.
Okay.
3 things that you want to see, you want to be better at the end of at the end of our time, because we move a little bit. They move personnel around a lot.
yeah,
so
unfortunately, it
unfortunately,
happens.
it is what it is. For the needs of the county. But when they leave, I want them to have a good working knowledge, a good base. That way, the next person you get, well, you're not having to hold their hand and say, okay, because I know when they come to me, the first thing when I ask is, well, what's your expectations of me? Where did you leave off with your other officer? And I'll call the other officer too and just kind of touch base with them. Strengths and weaknesses. Where did you leave off with them? Where are they at? Are they in their packet? What are some things some unfinished product or projects that you had that you didn't finish? I'd like to have a hand in it. Kind of work with other officer and all that. But when they leave my station or they leave out from underneath me, I just want them to have a good working knowledge of the equipment. If they're in the driver's packet, have a good working knowledge on how to pump a truck, and not having to lean lean heavily on another officer, or like, oh well, here comes a senior firefighter. I know he wants to go fight fire, but will you show me how to pump this truck?
Mm-hmm.
So, but definitely, just be stronger in what they were. Leave them better than what they were when I got them. If that,
Right.
for lack of better,
Yeah.
like a better terms.
That's cool.
So,
So you like to be very active in it, in the leadership of your guys
very.
or in girls.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that balance of the computer paperwork side of training versus actual training? It's like sometimes it's like it's got to be done, and nobody likes it.
I try to make it fun. Some of the drills we do, it touches all the little qualifications, and stuff like that. Just here recently, we went to the training center and did the Pittsburgh drill and the Denver drill. I haven't done that in years.
Okay,
but
I'm familiar with the Denver. What's the Pittsburgh again?
Let's see. Let me get my lines straight because I always get the two mixed up. So it's the one where you go through the tube, you package them, you send two people through the tube, you package them, tie some webbing around them, around the top part of their pack, and then you drag them back through the tube. I want to say that's the Pittsburgh, but I may have them mixed up.
Okay.
Drag them through, up over. There's like a little triangle piece up over that, and then you have to get them through that little kind of like that doggy door looking thing
Mm-hmm.
with their pack on. The other one is you take them. You got a little small space you're working with. You climb through the window, check their air, make sure they got air, package them, get to the other side, and what I like to do is drag their feet, because you can do it with two people or do it with one. Drag their feet up to the right there at the window sill, and then just get behind them, pick them up, and their body kind of pulls them out the window, and then you've got another firefighter there that's going to take them back down the ladder. So they're both good. They're good little RIT drills, but like I said, I haven't done them in years, so it was a
good refresher.
It was a good refresher.
Okay. As a lieutenant, what would you say like your strengths are, and then like what would you I'm trying to see how to phrase this correctly. What do you trying to be like PC about it too.
Yeah.
When you see another officer doing something that like it's like not necessarily up to your standard, how about that? How does I don't even know how I'm trying to word this now. Good grief. Let's just say, what are the big things that are important for you as a leader, and like, what would you like to see other leaders that may exist within the county or other departments? Like, what would you like to see them better? Like, what would be your kind of like pet peeves for that as a leader?
So
finally came out.
Yeah. So the 6 men I talked about earlier, they were transparent. Transparency is a big one. Your crew knows where you stand with you know where you stand with your crew, vice versa. If he's having a bad day, I can tell by looking at him. I ain't gonna bother him.
Right.
The selflessness, that's something else. That's another big one for me. Always put your crew first. That's what I try to do. I put my crew first. Even as simple as when you sit down for dinner, I'm like the last to eat, and I've always done that. I don't know where I got it from, but it's just something I've always felt that a leader should do. I know it's kind of nitpicking, but I'm not really big on going to another officer and saying, "Hey, look, you're doing this wrong. Let me show you how to do it."
Yeah, not like that,
So,
but I mean just kind of like a pet peeve of like, yeah, I'm definitely not doing that.
Transparency.
Yeah.
It's a big one. Because they gotta know where they stand with you. List your expectations first, or get their expectations of you,
Right.
and then list yours for them. That way, it's all cut and dry. I know where I stand with him. I know what he expects of me. He knows what I know what to expect to be his officer. I know what he expects of me. So there's no, there's just clarity. So that's a big one for me, is the transparency. I always get them to tell me what they expect out of me as their officer. What would you like to see done around here? What would you like to see me train you on? Is there something you want to train on? I tell them my weakness is ropes. I'm horrible with ropes. So if you're good with ropes, teach me. I don't mind. I'll probably have you gray headed by the time, or wanting to pull your hair out, because I'm telling you, I'm horrible with ropes. But again, it's one of those where, well, teach me. I want to learn.
Right.
So that's one of my weaknesses, man. It's hilarious.
Ropes are definitely a challenge. If you're not practicing them,
Yeah.
it's like, when in doubt for me, it's like, do the figure eight. One of the figure eights. It's like it'll solve almost everything. That and a clove hitch, and you're like, all right, cool, good to go. Bow line, I'm like, ooh, how do I do that again?
So, like, what would be your expectations of your officer? If the officer were to ask you right now, what are your expectations of your officer? How would you reply?
That's a good question. Definitely the transparency thing. Being just open about stuff and just simple communication is definitely one of those things that, for me, wanting to test to go to that next level, it's like I've always expected a lot from my leaders, like even within the Army, and then like with here, it's like, but now I feel like I have to step up at some point. Yeah. So I like a guy who leads or girl. I like a leader who leads from the front, for sure. I don't like the recliner officer. I don't want to see that person who's supposed to be over me, like, not getting out there with the crew, not being active. Mm-hmm. I think physical fitness, for one, is just like one of the biggest things. Like, if you're not physically fit, then it's like, how can I even like take you seriously? Mm-hmm. And I get, like, these are like my own biases and everything like that, but even as like public servants, it's like we're supposed to be these role models, with these representatives of the county, and then you got a guy in uniform who's like morbidly obese. Mm-hmm. I personally like hate that. So for me, it's like, I think you got to be like fit, you got to be a good leader, like by like being out there with your guys, like teaching them, and then just being like knowledgeable and fair. Yeah. So it's hard these days to have that ideal leader, I feel, but it's just like one of those things, like you have to, like, each day you have to like step up to it. And like, I didn't even want to touch it last year. I was eligible, but I was also a brand new medic, and I was like, one thing at a time. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to try and do two things at once. Mm-hmm. Get more familiar being a medic. So I've had that year now where I started working with our department as well, part-time. Mm-hmm. Just getting that more experience, like, especially like up here in North Georgia, like we're very lucky to have all the medics that we do. Yeah. Where we work at. Mm-hmm. You're on a call, and you got two other guys, hopefully, that you can like lean on. You're like, hey, what do you think? Yeah. You're like, all right, cool. Up here, I'm like, crap, I'm the only one. So I'm like, shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's definitely made me more comfortable, more confident, just having that opportunity to be a transporting medic without any help. So now that I feel more confident, now I'm willing to like step into that next role for sure. Yeah. But I hold a high standard to my officers, so how can I not to myself? Mm-hmm. I agree. That you just become hypocritical. Mm-hmm. So I'm just hoping I can like live up to like even my own my own standards, because like I'm my own worst critic.
Yeah, same. It's just one of those where it's just baptism under fire is what I tell folks.
You don't know until you know.
You don't, and you're going to have to make some mistakes along the way. But I learn better from the mistakes instead of doing it right every time.
Hopefully, there's small mistakes. Nothing like nobody gets
just
hurt or
mistakes, yeah. Because I'd feel horrible about that. If somebody got hurt under my command,
yeah.
under my,
I mean, it's
that'd get me.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like something tragically going wrong and it was my fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Even when I made sergeant and up to lieutenant, I wanted to be that officer that I wanted and that I was lucky enough to have. I want to be that officer that I wanted as a rookie. I ain't got to say you got to be a scholar athlete, a stellar athlete or anything like that, but get out there and train with your guys. All right, today we're gonna pull the tools out. I got a little cup drill I like to do. Take some solo.
A little what?
It's called I call it the solo cup drill.
Oh, cup drill. Okay.
Yeah, it's for the spreaders and the spreaders. You just take and you build up a little triangle, the team thing, and then your partner comes over and he takes them down. It just gets you familiarized, but it gets you outside and you're playing with the equipment and you're teaching somebody something. I've always enjoyed the teaching aspect of it, being the officer. That's something big for me also. You got to be willing to teach. And if you don't know, got to be willing to say, well, I don't know, let's go look it up.
Right.
So
do you typically like have like an idea in mind for like a training evolution, kind of refresh yourself on certain things, or do you just kind of just go out there and do it?
You just go out there and do it. I try to keep. I just when I do these drills, like I said, it's more for me. But I do these drills, and I like to just keep my mind sharp, just keep my skills sharp.
So you did the cup drill. Do you ever you ever play Jenga with it?
Mm-mm.
You never done that?
No.
We did that back at 23. It's probably a couple of years ago. Hicks was still alive and he was with us. But we found it kind of difficult to like do it from the ground up, so we actually propped it up on like I think it was like a table or a chair or something like that to give us like some elevation. But then it started getting so high that like you're holding that thing above your head and like you're trying to be smooth and clean with it. It was definitely fun, but it was a challenge.
Yeah.
Once it starts getting high and like you're playing multiple rounds and that thing's like starting to get heavy, especially for somebody like me, it's like, okay, third round, it's like, oh my God, this thing's like ridiculous.
I have to try that. I've never tried that.
I'd like to do it again. Especially with our rookie, like we need to get more on the extrication stuff. We haven't really touched on that lately. I feel.
Yeah.
You got any other like fun exercises or drills that like that are your go-tos?
Oh yeah, good communication drill. We'll get a TAC channel, and I'll send. Again, it's a team thing, so you and your partner in separate rooms. Your partner has a drawing, like it's like a triangle, in the 2 inches from the left side, and you got to explain that to your partner. In another room, he's got a blank sheet of paper.
Oh, okay.
And he draws it up, and it's fun because it's the drawings come out. They look nothing like the original template, and then you swap positions. But it teaches you how to talk on the radio and communicate with your partner, and it's just something fun to do, something simple. It's on a rainy day. It's something you can get in there and do. So that's another fun one I like to do.
Any other ones?
Let's see.
We need to try that communication one though. I like that. Yeah,
you'll like it.
That'd be fun.
I'm telling you, when you're done with it, you're gonna be like, it's nothing like the picture, man. Let's see. That's a good one. I'm trying to think in my head which one with the tick. You'll get some equipment, turn the lights off in the station, get some equipment, leave it outside. You'll just put the equipment sporadically throughout the building. It's just a simple tick drill, and you can see the heat signature. I like to put like a picket axe or something. You put it in the corner, and you communicate that to your partner. That's another fun one.
So you let it sit outside in the heat
mm-hmm.
to get that signature, and then you bring it in. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. and just put it somewhere in the station, and then you communicate where you found it.
Okay.
So it's the simple drills like that, or rainy day drills, as I like to call them.
Right.
So
that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're kind of coming up on the time limit. Advice-wise, like like it could be dad advice, it could be leadership advice, whatever, just general advice for the world. What would you like to, if you had one thing to say, like what would be that thing?
Take pride in your crew. Take pride in yourself. Just be a motivator. Motivate your crew, and just like I said, stay on top. Stay on top of them. Keep them sharp. This, that, and the other. But you got to be willing to get their back. So for a good officer, motivate them, take care of them, take pride in them, and then leave them better than what they were when they come to you. Not saying they were horrible when they got there, but well, now he can.
We could always be better.
Yeah, I could always be better, but leave them better than what they were when they come to you. And take pride in it.
Cool.
At the end of the day, that's what they're going to remember. This was Lieutenant Hall. He was my lieutenant here, or my sergeant here. No, what they're going to remember is what you taught them and what you instilled in them. Same thing with as an officer for your sergeants. Let them lead. Hop over in the driver's seat. Let them call some shots on the on the officer side. They gotta get used to it sometime.
All right.
So let them lead the crew.
Cool.
So.
All right.
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming up here. Thanks for sharing your advice and your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please follow us on your favorite podcast app. Hit that bell for notifications on new episodes. And please share with a friend. Thank you for all the support so far. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.